Hello everyone. So I will be making a guide for you to follow for the correlation project that first appears under week 3. So as you can see here, week 3 is open in the weekly guide. And I click in the week 3 of the weekly guide, and there's a correlation paper assignment here that's linked. And I click on that. It brings me to underwritten assignments to correlation project, and I'll just open that folder up. And we want to start with correlation project instructions. So I'll click on that and we'll take a look at this. So in this project, I want you to test two hypotheses based on correlations from data collected in class. Obviously, we're not collecting the data in class, but I've given you class data to analyze. You cannot generalize a hypothesis based on variables we did not collect. So you need to use the variables in the data set that I give you, and you'll see that when we get to the data set. And these correlations should hypothesize either a positive or negative relationship. So a positive and negative correlation. And that's up to you to determine. And I give you some examples, but you can make up your own as long as those variables are in the data set. So here's a list of variables: depression, self-esteem, loneliness, social anxiety, stress, generalized anxiety, number of social networking sites used, number of hours spent on social networking sites, number of Facebook friends, number of real friends, number of text messages per week, GPA, credits, and number of hours sleep per night. And so I've given you a list of different hypotheses you can test, such as a positive correlation exists between loneliness and the number of social networking sites joined, or a positive correlation exists between depression and the number of hours spent on social networking sites. So you see here that we're either hypothesizing a positive correlation between two variables or a negative correlation between two variables, and you should have learned the correlation in the week 2 assignments. And you can use two of these, or you can come up with your own, either, but it has to be in the form of a positive or a negative correlation between two variables. These are our hypotheses. For this paper, I want a one-page summary of a research article dealing with each of your two hypotheses. That means two separate one-page summaries. So you should find a scholarly article that in some way captures what your hypothesis is about, and then write a one-page summary of it. I would focus on the introduction, the methodology or methods, and the discussion. The results, not so much. They might be a little confusing, but you can really get the gist of the article by reading the introduction, the method, and the discussion. So after you find the one-page summary, so basically you pick a hypothesis, you find an article that's relevant to it, and I'll show you how to search for the articles. And then you write a one-page summary, double-spaced, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, standard fare. And after the one-page summary, I want you to actually calculate the correlation coefficient for the hypothesis that you're testing in Microsoft Excel, and then to provide a scatter plot. So you're going to have the actual value of the correlation, so you'll have a number, it's numerical value, between -1 and +1, inclusive. And then you'll have a scatter plot, which is a graph of the correlation showing the relationship. And after that, you're going to write a one-paragraph conclusion. And in that conclusion, you're basically going to say whether your results support previous research, i.e. the article you summarized. Do our class results support what the article is talking about, what they found? And if they don't, you need to give me a reason why. Provide an explanation why you think there's a difference. So basically, you're looking, do our results support our hypothesis first? Yes or no? If not, give me a reason why. And do our results support the previous research? Yes or no, give me a reason why. Okay, so there's basically two questions to answer there. And you'll be understanding, the goal of this will be to get you to understand psychological research. You're doing a little research project right here. They've given you all the screenshots and whatnot in the assignment folder, but I'm going to also give you the video. I think the video might be easier to walk through. So once again, going back to the beginning, come up with two hypotheses. The hypotheses have to involve correlation, either positive or negative correlation. Here are some examples that I've highlighted here, listed here. You could use these, any two of these, or you can make up your own. If you make up your own, make sure that you're making up a correlation between the variables in the data set, which are listed here on the top here, this paragraph. So find an article that talks about these variables that you're testing your hypothesis on. A scholarly article, that means not Wikipedia, not Joe's awesome psychology page, etc., but a real article. And I'll show you how to do that. And after you do the one-page summary of that article, you want to calculate the actual numerical value of the correlation. And then you want to graph a scatter plot through Microsoft Excel, and we'll be going through how to do that. And then finally, there's a one-paragraph conclusion. In that one-paragraph conclusion, I want you to say, did you support your hypothesis, yes or no? And if not, give me a reason why. And does your result support previous research, the article you read and summarized? If not, give me a reason why. So just one paragraph, a couple sentences. So I give you sort of a sample example of this. You write out the correlation, page 1, the hypothesis that you're testing, the name of the article you used, the one-page summary, and then the correlation coefficient, the scatter plot, and then your one-paragraph conclusion answering the following questions. And if you do that, you'll have a total of 4 pages. It's a fairly simple assignment, but it gets your feet wet with regards to testing hypothesis and doing a little bit of research in psychology. And obviously, later on in your career, you can be doing a lot more. So let's go back and look at what else we have here. Here's the correlation project guide. So I've made screenshots for you based on a data set. This data set may not be the data set you're using. It probably isn't. But this is kind of what the data set looks like. And this is how to do the correlation. So you pick an empty cell and you type equal correl, open parentheses, and then you have to select the column for it. But I'm going to work you through it in real time with Microsoft Excel. So you can print this out and use it as a step-by-step guide, but I'm going to be showing you step-by-step through the video because I kind of like making videos now. I think it's easier explaining it through a video, but you can have this by your side while I explain it through the video for some of you that like that kind of explanation. So let's go back here, and I'm going to open this data up. Correlation project data XLSX, that means it's a Microsoft Excel file. Microsoft Excel and the whole Microsoft Office suite is free. And you saw that under course information. I have the free Microsoft Office tab. If you click this link down here, you're going to get to the free Microsoft Office for BMCC students. You can download the whole Microsoft Office suite on, I think, up to 5 computers and 5 tablets and 5 cell phones, I think. So you'll have plenty of computers with this. It's all free from BMCC. So use it because it's free. It's good. It's good. It's nice to have free stuff, right? And so now let's go back to the correlation under written assignments, correlation project, and we're going to look at the data. So I'm just going to click on this Excel file. I'm just going to open it up in Excel for me. Now I'm in Excel. Hit enable editing. And here's all our data. And I combined a couple classes worth of data here. So there's 44 data points here. And here's our variable list. So the first row here is all the variables we have. Depression, self-esteem, loneliness, social anxiety, stress, generalized anxiety, social networking sites joined, hours on social networking sites per week, Facebook friends, real friends. It's interesting, Facebook friends and real friends. Text messages per week, GPA, credits, and hours sleep. So basically I put together a survey and I measured all these things from previous classes, and this is their data, and we're going to test our data. These are our variables up here, right? And you need to generate 2 hypotheses, and those hypotheses have to be about a correlation regarding 2 of these variables at a time. So, for example, a negative correlation between depression and self-esteem. That makes sense. As depression goes up, self-esteem goes down. Or as self-esteem goes down, depression goes up, right? Or a positive correlation between depression and loneliness. As depression goes up, loneliness goes up, or vice versa, right? Because remember that correlation is not directional. It can go either way. And you could also have confounding variables or third variables that lead to the relationship. So it's definitely not causal, but it's a place to start, and it's a good place to start. And it's a good place to start for the beginning researcher, and you guys are the beginning researchers. So to find a correlation, let me look at depression and loneliness. So for example, my correlation could be there should be a positive correlation between depression and loneliness. Or I hypothesize there to be a positive correlation between depression and loneliness. That's one hypothesis, right? Positive correlation. So to find the correlation, just type equals, open parentheses, CORREL. Actually, hold on a second. Forget the parentheses. Don't put the parentheses yet. CORREL like that. Now put the parentheses. Right, so equals coral. And I just go up to the top. Now, do not select the name. Just select the row below the name, the left click. So depression, I left click and I drag it. See how it's blue? Drag it down to the end and release it. It says column A, row 2 through column A, row 45. That's the first variable. Now a comma. And now to select the second variable, which is going to be loneliness. Once again, left click, drag down. Never select the labels because they'll be included in the analysis. You don't want that. It says column C, row 2 through column C, row 45. You see the dimensions are the same, 2 to 45. That's important. And parentheses now. And then equal. Enter. Not equal. Enter. And there's your correlation, 0.539. So that's kind of a moderate correlation between depression and loneliness. It's positive, though. And that would be your correlation value. So let me walk you through that again. So let me delete this. Once again, if you're going to look at the correlation, you can find it in Excel. Click an empty cell. Type in equal first. Sorry. Equal CORREL. That's the correlation function. Open parentheses. Now pick the first variable, which is depression. Left click. Drag down. Then a comma for the second one, which is loneliness. Left click. Drag down. Never select the name. And then end parentheses. And then enter. And there's your correlation, 0.539. So fairly simple. That supports, now this supports our hypothesis that there's a positive correlation between loneliness and depression. That's what we expected, and we found what we expected. So we supported our hypothesis. And then based on your previous research, you'll talk about whether you supported the previous research. And chances are you probably will, because most of the research on loneliness and depression shows a positive correlation. So that's fairly simple. Now, to come up with a scatter plot, we need to do something different. We need to select the variables first. So left click depression, never, once again, you don't click the label, just right below the label, row 2. Left click, drag down, select all the data and release. Now we need to hold down the control key if you're using a PC. If you're using a Mac, you're going to hold down the command key. It's a little bit different. PC, you're going to hold down the control key. Mac, you're going to hold down the command key. So hold down whatever key you're using, control or command. Oops, sorry about that. And now come to loneliness, left click, and drag down. Make sure you're still holding down control or command, depending on what you're using, PC or Mac. And now release everything at once. You see those two columns are now highlighted. Right? If you don't hold down the control or command key, what will happen is the first column will de-highlight or stop being highlighted, and you'll only highlight the second column. You need those both both columns highlighted like this to do the scatter plot. So once you have that done, you're then going to go to Insert, and I'm going to use one of these charts. See, there's a chart with these dots here. That's a scatter plot chart. So I'll just left click on that arrow and just pick the first one. And there's your scatter plot. Nice and easy scatter plot, right? So you have the correlation was 0.53 something, I believe. And now you have the scatter plot. If you want to put a title in here and you want to put, relationship between depression and anxiety and loneliness, you could put that there, right? And if you want to put it into a document that you're going to upload to Blackboard, I would suggest putting it into a Word document or whatever word processor you have. So you go to a Word document, and all you have to do is copy this, and then go to Word document and paste it in like that. So you can just copy and paste. And then you could put the rest of it here. You could put the correlation up here. You got your scatter plot here, and then you put your paragraph down here right afterwards. You're going to start writing down here the conclusion paragraph. So I would put the hypothesis up here, and if you want to move that, not in the header, but if you want to move this down, you can always move it down. Let me click and move it down. See if it moves down. It's kind of stubborn. Or you can just put the hypothesis down here. If it doesn't want to move down, it's fine. And just make sure you have the actual correlation value, the scatter plot, and the conclusion, right? Here's an outlier right here. This point is sort of a point that doesn't fit with the rest of the data, and this is disturbing the correlation. But this is somebody that scored fairly high or very high on both depression and loneliness, so much more than everybody else. So this is a person that really is struggling. So let's go back and show you what else has to be done. So that's a scatter plot. And so once you do that for one hypothesis, you repeat the same process for the second hypothesis. Same process. So let me show you once again. I'll walk you through the scatter plot once again. So let me delete that. So if I'm doing depression and loneliness, left click depression, drag down to the end, release. Hold down Control or Command and keep holding it down. Control on a PC, Command on the Mac. Left click loneliness, drag down again. Right, release everything. See those both columns are highlighted. And then simply insert scatter plot here and pick the first one, and there's your scatter plot. So that's hypothesis 1, and I would repeat the same procedure for hypothesis 2. And then the assignment is done. It's not a hard assignment. Many students are not used to using Excel, so this is a way to get your feet wet with Excel. You really need to know how to use Excel, because after you graduate, you move on to whatever job you can get. Pretty much every job uses Excel. Even grocery stores. Whole Foods uses Excel. Starbucks uses Excel. Excel is very common in almost any job, so you kind of have to have some knowledge of Excel, and this is a way to start. So once you do all that, you paste everything into your Word document, right? And you have everything. So you have the scatter plot, you have the correlation, you have the hypothesis you tested, and you have the conclusion, right? You have all that. You got to play around with it to move this stuff, but it'll move. And once you're done with that and you're ready, and you have the 4 pages, right? 2 pages for so you have the first 1-page summary, and then the correlation, the scatter plot, and all that. And the second 1-page summary, the correlation, the scatter plot, and the conclusion. So you have 4 pages total. You would just upload it here under correlation paper. This is where you're going to actually upload it, and the assignment is due on 10/15 at noon. So you have a month to basically do it. It shouldn't take you long. And I'll get back to the summary of the article in a second. I just want to show you where you upload it. Click under correlation paper, and then you could just attach a file. So you browse my computer, attach a file, and that's it. And you submit it, and then I get it, and I can grade it and give you feedback. So very easy. You submit it under this link where it says correlation paper. And that link is under correlation project. Okay. Now, getting the article for the one-page summary. So here you have to use the library webpage. So let's go to BMCC. You see here a library tab. Click on library tab. And eventually it will take you to library. I mean, the server is slow. Ever so slowly. Okay, so now we're going to look at library. And your best bet is to go to databases here. Click on databases, and then subject could be psychology, right? Click on psychology, and you have a couple here. My favorites are Psych Info and Psych Articles. I think those are the best. You have the DSM here. You won't need that, but this is a reference. You have the DSM referenced here. DSM is sort of the Bible of clinical psychology. It's kind of it gives you the criteria for diagnosing all the mental disorders. And in my abnormal class, I talk about this to a great deal and the problems with it. So let's go to PsycInfo. Now you're going to have to enter your username and password if you're off campus. And these are your email logins. Actually, they're not. I just have too many logins. These are your, I think maybe they're the CUNY portal logins. No. Oh, you actually have to type your whole, sorry, you have to actually type your whole email address now for some reason. You can't just type in your username. So I'll write my whole email address in, and now hopefully this thing is going to be nicer to me. Now I'm logged in. So it is your email address and your email password, but you have to write the whole email address. And CUNY has like really strange rules for logging in, as you probably already know. Page is not found. So let me go back to PsycInfo again. There we go. Page is found. How does that work? Okay. So if you have a little hiccup like that, just go back and open it up again. So here you're going to enter your search terms. This is EBSCOhost. You can sort of leave the rest of this alone. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. Later on, when you're more used to using it, you can start thinking about all these options. But for now, I'm going to leave it open. I'm going to type in, let's say I'm testing the hypothesis between depression and loneliness. I'm going to type in something like relationship between depression and loneliness. Hit search, and I have 109 articles. Obviously, you only need one. And so what you want to do is you want to look at the title, see if it makes sense to you, if it's sort of something you're interested in reading. And then you want to look at the abstract. So if you click on the title, it'll bring you to an abstract. Here's your abstract. You could read the abstract to see what they did in the study. You may not understand it all, but it's kind of a good place to start, right? And see what the result says. This says loneliness was followed by an increase in negative appraisals of social company and a higher frequency of being alone. It doesn't really necessarily talk too much about depression. A little bit. MDD is major depression. Let's see if there's anything else here. Loneliness and psychotic symptoms with depression. Loneliness and stigma and depression. Loneliness and depression in the elderly. This could be relevant. Once again, you could read the abstract to talk about how loneliness and depression are related in the elderly. Okay? And if this works for you, then you might want to download the whole article, and you can do that a variety of ways. One is you can click linked full text, and linked full text should bring you to the article. In this case, it's the PDF. And if you see the PDF directly, you could just click on the PDF directly. And it'll bring you to the article, and then you could read the article focusing on the introduction. Obviously, read the abstract. Focus on the introduction, the method, and the discussion. Don't worry so much about the results because you're going to see all these numbers. It's not going to make much sense to you. These are odds ratios. This is for use with a statistical test called chi-square. You're not going to know what this is. It's not important because if you read the discussion, you're going to get the gist of what they found. And that'll be enough for you to write a one-page summary. You might want to practice looking at the graphs. I mean, it's always good to get practice reading graphs. For later, for like, if you decide later on that you're going to do more research or more psychology, you're going to be exposed to a lot more reading journal articles. This is a journal article, and that's what I want. I want you to read and summarize, write a one-page summary of a journal article. I do not want a magazine article. I do not want a Wikipedia article or some bogus webpage article. I want a real journal article. And so one way to find it is through what I showed you, the library system PsycInfo. So let me close that. There's another way to find things, and that's generally through Google Scholar. So let me do Google Scholar. And I like Google Scholar also. So you click on Google Scholar and make sure it says Google Scholar. This will bring you up journal articles. So I can write depression and loneliness. And here's all your articles. Now, you don't want to pay for anything. So sometimes you click on an article and it may ask you to pay for something. No, don't pay. Don't pay for anything. There's plenty of free articles you can get through Google Scholar. If it says PDF, that means it's free. Here's adult attachment, depression and loneliness, mediating role of basic psychological need satisfaction. This could be interesting. Click on the PDF. You'll get the article right away. There's your article. This is something I probably would want to read personally. So if it's something that you think it's interesting, you want to read it and use it for your paper, then once again, read through it, focus on the introduction, and obviously you see this connections here. This looks like a structural equation model. I'm not asking you to get into the math. Just read the introduction, the method. You can skip the results. Here's some correlations. You could probably interpret this. This is a correlation matrix. This is another correlation matrix. You know that. This is a path analysis. You're not going to understand this structural equation model. Don't worry about it. You could just skip it. Read the discussion. The discussion will tell you what the results mean, and that's what you need to know to understand the article. You don't need to know all the numbers. You're not expected to know. My colleagues don't even know the numbers. I may know the numbers, but not everyone knows the numbers. But just get the gist of the article. And that's it. And that's your one-page summary. You're going to write 2 one-page summaries for your 2 hypotheses. You're then going to calculate 2 correlation coefficients based on those 2 hypotheses, the variables involved there. You're going to then create 2 scatterplots and then have 2 conclusion sections that I have. And obviously everything stems from these instructions. So you want to make sure you look through these instructions again. And especially, this is how it's going to be formatted. Page 1, write the correlation, write the name of the article, write the one-page summary, and in page 2, write the correlation coefficient, the actual numerical value, paste the scatter plot here, and then write a 1-paragraph conclusion answering these questions. And once you do those 2 pages for the first hypothesis, repeat the same procedure for the second hypothesis. You should have a total of 4 pages. And of course, you have the guide here, which is step-by-step screenshots. You have the video. Here's the data, and you upload it to the correlation paper link here. And it's a fairly basic assignment. It's requiring you to do things that you probably haven't done already, so you may feel a little bit apprehensive about this. But in reality, it shouldn't take you that long. And it's a good experience because you're actually reading the literature, you're getting exposed to real research, you're reading a professional journal article, you're using Excel, and you're actually calculating statistic in Excel. So you're getting a lot of these things done, and it's a very useful project. for increasing your quantitative literacy and also getting you a taste of psychological research. So that's it for the walkthrough. Hopefully that makes sense, and it's going to be a fairly simple assignment for you. And it's due 10:15 at noon, so make sure you take care of that before. You have a whole month to do this. If you still have additional problems, let me know. I'm on campus. I can if you can meet me with me on campus, you can meet me in my office. You can also do Blackboard Collaborate if we need to do that. So let me know if there's a problem, but hopefully this will get you on your way to completing the assignment. So see you soon, and hopefully you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful.